Hey New World Lore nerds, today we're going to be deep diving into some story, specifically on the Roman and Greek arrival to Aeternum, and how they might tell us when the ancients disappeared from Aeternum. This lore is going to be taken from our own historical timeline, lore pages, and experiments done in our more recent past. Firstly, what is the earliest time frame we can place the Romans on Aeternum? To discover this, we're going to need to look at two different lore pages. First, we need to look at the Lazarus instrumentality and the person who wrote this lore page. The Lazarus instrumentality was written by a person named Albinus. The name itself is derived from Latin, meaning white or bright, and taken from the Roman cognate Albinus. The Latin language began around 700 BC in a small settlement near Palatine Hill, and Rome was founded in around 750 BC. In these lore pages, we're told the story of how Albinus and a few other humans were led into a cave system by 8 ancients. This places the ancients on Aeternum sometime around at least 700 to 750 BC, as this person would have been on Aeternum while the ancients were still there and after Rome and Latin were created, but before the next lore page that we have where the ancients were confirmed to be gone. The next lore page we need to look at is Vindicta Aeternum, written by survivalist Langlius, where he states that the Dryads are destroying the ruins of the ancients and all of their culture. This would imply that the ancients are no longer on Aeternum. We can also gain something else from this. These areas that the Dryads are attacking referenced as ruins, which would imply that enough time has passed, that the ancients have left, that the remainder of their settlements and whatnots are in ruin. On average, it takes nature approximately 100 years to overtake a civilization once its inhabitants are gone. So, prior to this lore page, we can assume that it's been at least 100 years since the ancients have left. When did this all happen, though? Well, a line on the lore page gives us that answer. Langlius goes on to state, "I would propose that they seek to destroy all evidence of the ancients, much as Scipio Africanus set his torch to Carthage." This gives us a clue to a roundabout time this page was written. Scipio Africanus the Younger, after sacking Carthage, razed the city. The razing of Carthage took place in 146 BC. Now, from the lore pages, we have a timeline of 750 BC to 146 BC. But I think we can go a little bit further because there's a piece to this puzzle we haven't talked about yet. How did the Romans reach Aeternum? Well, we know from the intro cinematic that Aeternum is located in the mid-Atlantic, approximately 3,400 kilometers from the Strait of Gibraltar. And from an experiment done by Thor Heyerdahl, where he crossed the Pacific Ocean, which is approximately 8,000 kilometers, in a handmade balsa wood ancient-style ship filled with provisions from the ancient times, he proved that ancient peoples had the ability, if determined enough, to cross oceans. Now that we know the trek was possible, where would the Romans have launched such a ship? Well, the Strait of Gibraltar would be the likely spot. We know from history that the Romans had trade routes and small colonies near the strait around 575 BC, and the first major city by the people of Greece and Rome would have been Alexandria in about 331 BC. Given the timeline we're looking at, using the farthest dates out to be more accurate, we can assume that Albinus left Rome, went to the Strait of Gibraltar, restocked for a long journey, and crash landed on Aeternum shortly after. And this is going to give us a new start date of sometime after 575 BC. Now we have 2 points in history to run off of. The first person writing that they were on Aeternum with the ancients sometime after 575 BC, and another person of the same culture having knowledge of the burning of Carthage before landing on Aeternum sometime after 146 BC. If we take into account the time it takes for nature to reclaim a lost civilization, we narrow down the time frame of the ancients disappearing from Aeternum between 475 BC and 246 BC, giving us a 229-year range that the ancients likely disappeared from Aeternum. If we want to go further, we can look at the time frame compared to our own characters landing on Aeternum, the late 17th century. It has been approximately 1900 years between the latest date that the ancients likely left compared to when our characters likely landed on Aeternum. That's a long time between the two, and it means a lot has happened on Aeternum and the world as a whole. What historical events took place between the disappearance of the Ancients and the time when we landed on Aeternum? Did the Ancients leave and guide humanity from the shadows? What transpired on Aeternum in their absence? I guess it's time we all jump into Aeternum to discover what's going on during that time frame. Are you ready to figure it all out? Are you up for the challenge? We will see. See you in Aeternum.